Done. Okay, we are recording. Carlton, want to kick us off?
Excellent. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Thanks for everyone joining us who's watching. Thanks for everyone who's joining us as well in the live today. I definitely just wanted to take a moment to start and explain a little bit about the purpose of today's Q&A and live as well. So the title of today's Q&A is Giving Everyone a Voice Around the Table. So thanks again for being a part of this. We really just want to check in and see how everyone's doing on that personal level. And I also want to start by reading a statement. The Collision Drumsticks team stands by the Black community, our friends, artists, partners in the fight against racism, injustice, and inequality. We are deeply pained by the actions and what has currently happening within the Black community. We will no longer stand by. We want to use our platform and voice to help spread awareness and tackle these injustices. We encourage all to spread peace, love, and fight for what is right.
Thanks, Carlton. So yeah, my name is Monique. I work here in Ops at Collision. We really want to do this Q&A to use our platform to start dialogue and conversations. And by doing this, we really wanted to highlight and feature some Collision artists who want, and we want them to share a little bit more about their experience, but really just get this conversation going. So I'd love to start out just by introducing you to everybody. So if you guys can just kind of share your name, your band or project, and your location. And then I'll let Noel kind of lead us into the Q&A here. Does anyone want to go first?
I don't mind going first. So my name is Marquise Faison. I play with Prophetic Sound Productions. It's a Christian music and media production company. So in that aspect, I work sort of as a session drummer, and I play for houses of worship here in Houston, Texas, in the USA. That's where I'm from. And I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be a part of the Collision Drumsticks family. And I am definitely happy to be a part of something that will inspire and invoke change, not just in the Black community, but socially and in the different perspectives of people, across the world. So I'm super excited to be here. And with that, I'll pass it on.
Thank you so much, Marquise. Thank you. Who would like to go next? Wes?
I'll go next. Yeah, so I'm Wes Watkins. I'm in the DMV area. I play for my band, got my own son, and play for the Fabulous Thunderbirds and a whole bunch of other people. Yeah, man, it's dope to be on here right now to help create dialogue of what's going on and everything like that. I think it's much needed, and I think a lot of companies need to do this and have people who look like me and other Black musicians on to have open dialogue about what's going on. So, yeah, man, other than that, it ain't too much to know about me. If anybody doesn't know about me, look me up on my Instagram and find everything else out that you want.
And we'll drop everybody's links in here too, so everyone can follow everybody. Cool.
Definitely. Thanks so much. Thank you, Wes. Ryan?
Please. Hey, how y'all doing? My name is Ryan Sowles, and I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. And I just recently joined Collision a couple of days ago, and I'm just happy to be a part. And this is much needed. Most companies that I see, they don't do anything like this. And plus, I appreciate Carlton, who just reach out and concerned about what's going on, and pretty much all of the artists' lives right now. So I'm just happy to be a part. So.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ryan. Excellent.
Noel?
Hey, everybody. My name is Noel Kunz. I live in Orlando, Florida. I am a drummer on Disney property. Unfortunately, that is at a standstill right now, but I'm looking to get back into it, and that's actually what brought me to the Collision family. The biggest reason actually that I'm here is because I've been dealing a lot as an ally of a from a different perspective. Being a minority of a different ethnicity it's brought another way of another perspective and another way for me to help because of the things that I've been dealing with. I had one of my Black friends who was peacefully protesting in Indianapolis, and he got killed. And it made me angry. And that's what led to my video the other day about being angry that people are keeping themselves divided instead of listening to each other so that we can work towards the common goal. The big thing that we do have in common is, well, there's two things. One, we're all angry, which means there's a feeling that we can have together. And the other thing is, no matter what perspective you are, you want it to stop. Maybe it's for different reasons, but we do want it to stop. So if we can channel that energy into a common goal, then maybe we can actually get somewhere. But there's so much more to it, that I just, I've gone through so many emotions lately, and that's actually why I'm here at the Roundtable.
Thank you so much, Noel. And again, my deepest condolences to yourself, friends, family. It's just devastating news. We had a conversation last week, and we made ourselves personally available to you because, no collision artist, no one should be going through this alone. And I definitely want to use this. We all want to use this. And I'm really pleased that we all have that commonality, that shared goal of using this to start the conversation, this being the first of a starting point today to move forward, have that dialogue, like Wes said, like Ryan said, like Marquis said, and of course, like Noel said, and Monique, to make sure that we are talking, we are making sure that we all find that commonality and that common ground and move forward positively. So thank you all for your contribution so far. Just to start, I hope you don't mind, just to get a question out into the open. The first one that was submitted, how can I use my platform to contribute to promote change and tackle injustice? Would anyone like to begin?
Yeah, I think the thing is really just everybody just has to bring awareness, because there's some people that are ignorant to what's going on. There's some people who don't pay attention to it. So it's like, I think the only main thing people do with their platforms is speak out, you know what I'm saying, and really try to educate people on what's going on. And the thing is, at the end of the day, everybody and their mother not going to always listen. But at least you can be somebody or anybody to say, hey, at least I use my platform to try to tell a person this is what's going on, and this is why we're protesting, and this is why they protest, and this is why they do A through Z, because of what's going on. Because right now, being a black man is like hunting season on us right now. I got a 12-year-old son that I raised that I got to worry about when he's not around me. What's going to happen when he outside? You know what I'm saying? I've been through the whole thing of when I was 17, police tried to accuse me of shooting a police officer. I was headed to work just because at the time I had dreads. I had a SWAT team on me, helicopters on me, guns drawn on me, pulled me out my truck, the whole nine. And it's been things that have happened since then, you know what I'm saying? So like the thing is just the way you use your platform, man, is just really just having dialogue and conversation. There will be people that listen, and unfortunately there'll be some people who don't listen, because at the end of the day, a lot of these things have been going on in the black community for years. It's nothing new. It's just that now a lot of it's just being highlighted. You see it on recordings, or you just, you know what I'm saying, there's more technology out now, so you just see it happening more and more and more. And to some of us, it's like, man, we see this all the time. It's been going on. But I think that people see what they want to see, and they don't want to see, you know what I'm saying? They pick and choose. So it's just like, I think just the way you use your platform, man, is just, you talk about it. That's the thing. You get people on, you get people with you that can relate to what's going on in their community, and you talk about it, and you just create dialogue. Just like we're doing right now, we're creating dialogue for people who may not know why this is going on, or why people say Black Lives Matter, or why they protest, and so on and so forth. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I think that's the way.
And if I can just piggyback on what Wes said, just really briefly. First off, everything he said, absolutely true. I think it's important for people to realize that as much as this is an objective experience, it is a subjective experience as well. And I think people go either too far from one side to the other, whether they're trying to push out nothing but objective, cold facts, numbers, statistics on their platform, or they're only speaking from the subjectivity of their experience. And that polarizes, that divides. I think there has to be a balance. And the result, unfortunately, is that many artists, many musicians, no shots to anyone specifically, but generally, when they use their platform, or famous people, whoever, it tends to be more dividing, because they're coming from one aspect or the other. They just miss a portion of the picture. And you really need both of those. And I think if you're going to have a platform, as Wes said, you want a dialogue, but I think the other caveat is you want to dialogue responsibly. Dialoguing doesn't work if you alienate the people who want to support you because you don't feel like they understand because you're only subjective. It also doesn't work if you alienate the people who would stand with you, who look like you, because you're only coming from a place of cold, hard facts, and there's no emotion or empathy in what it is that you're doing. So I think there has to be sort of a marriage between what you know as fact. We need facts. We don't need just complete subjective. It's not all police officers. We know that. We've gotten stopped by good police officers. We've seen them at the rec centers, at the Boys and Girls Clubs here in the States, doing different kinds of outreach. We remember going through grade school and having fire departments and police officers come visit us, talk to us about safety and all those different kinds of things. So it's not that we don't have any kind of experience with good law enforcement. Most of us, I'd say a good portion of us. So it's not that we need to hear that, but we do need that perspective. But we also do need a level of empathy to understand that it's not just percentages, it's not just crime statistics, it's not just abstract systemic racism, but it is a life, it's a person, it's their family, it's the trauma. If they survive, it's the PTSD that follows, it's the nightmares, it's the jitteriness, and overall the unrest within. And I think, I don't want to say exploiting, but I think emphasizing both aspects, the objective and the subjective aspect of the conversation, is the way to do it responsibly and in a way that will really get people who don't look like us to step into our shoes, because they can understand the statistics, but they can also understand the human condition. So.
Can I just say something in response to what you said? Dog, you was absolutely spot on with that. And the thing is, like, even though I've been through a whole bunch of things, I actually have friends who are officers too. You know what I'm saying? That's it. Like you said, and the part that sucks is you have officers that do their part, but they get overshadowed by the ones who do bad. And so what's really highlighted in the news and what we see is the ones that do bad. That's the sad part. Because even if you're a black officer, you're a white officer, at the end of the day, when you put on the badge, you're an officer. So a lot of times we'll put you all in the same category as you're police, you're bad, you do this, you do that. And if you're somebody that looks like us and you're an officer, once you take the badge off, to some people, you might look like just another Negro. But you know what I really want to say. You feel what I'm saying? And so that's why, and so the thing is, that's why, like you said, we have to have responsible dialogue. And that's why I like it like this, because you have people who have been through it, but it's not just, I'm not trying to make somebody, when people have dialogue, when companies, whoever has dialogue, you have to make sure, like you said, like you're not just giving one side. So it's not everybody just saying that all cops are bad or just Black Lives Matter, nobody else. No, we're trying to get you to see the whole big picture. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is, some people don't want to see it. So that's why things like this are necessary, because you need to say it. We're not trying to condemn every single officer. We're not trying to say just Black Lives Matter, nobody else matter. We're people, we're human. We want to step outside just like the next person wants to step outside. I want to go to the store, come back home to my kids, just like the officer want to go to his job and come back to his kid. We all want the same thing. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I just love what you just said, man. That was 1,000, dude. I'll go back to mute now.
Very good. I did want to add something as well. I feel like it's so important to have it responsibly, because media will also say one thing, right? And like, we all have platforms, and even as artists as well, like you have fans and people following you and supporting you. It's definitely like, it's interesting in the time that we live in now, because we have social media and then we have the ability to share on our platforms, but doing it in this way where we are humans, right? And it's also global too. I know, like, I'm in the States right now and I know we're a UK company, right? But even so, like, other countries aren't innocent, right? I've even seen like some friends that I've had like in different countries just posting like, oh, I'm glad I'm not in America right now. And I'm like, excuse me? Like, this isn't just like like a US thing. Carlton, do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Definitely, yeah. You know, and I've recently returned back from the States, and you know, with the pandemic and of course what's going on in the world now, it's definitely all eyes on America in some sense, but not in the sense like exactly like Monique's just said. You know, the UK, France, the globe, we are not innocent. We all have a part to play in this. This happens globally. You know, it's completely disgusting, and this should never have been, you know, never have been openly, you know, it's almost been in a way accepted. It should never have been, and it's disgraceful. And I completely stand by everything. Whereas Marquise, you've mentioned the fact that you have these two polarizing sort of opinions and the way the dialogue's presented, but it's almost that blending. We need that meeting of minds. We need to have roundtables. We need to have dialogue like this to be able to understand perspective, understand experience, and get that not only from, you know, black, white, you know, Asian, Hispanic. Everyone needs a seat. Everyone needs to open their eyes and open their ears to this, and everyone needs to learn. And I think, like you said, the few ruin it for the many. You know, you either have, you know, cops being praised or cops being shattered and completely, you know, doing disgusting and atrocious acts. It needs to be, you know, we all need to play our part. We all need to call it out where it needs calling out, and we all need to clamp it down completely. So yeah, thank you so much for everyone's contribution so far. Ryan, did you have anything to add at all?
Not really. Pretty much everybody, you know, said what I wanted to say. I, I, I literally just had a friend a couple of days ago from Australia ask me, you know, what's going on in the States? You know, why are, you know, black people are getting killed? And you know, I have to tell them, you know, it's hard to explain to them because they really don't know. And I just told them like, you know, because of our color, and you know, honestly I don't really know. Uh, it was really very hard to explain to them. Period. But you know, I was telling them, you know, just I had to like send them links to like old YouTube videos or like movies and books to read, you know, just to learn for themselves. And I mean, that's all I have to say, really. I don't really have nothing. You know, pretty much everybody said what I want to say. That's it.
It's absolutely
So,
fine. Thank you.
yeah.
No, it's so true, and resources are so necessary and needed, and we're creating a bank of resources on our site so that everyone after today's live can go and access, you know, different web links and educate themselves, because I think that's the biggest piece. You need to do your homework on this. I certainly have opened my eyes to this. It's something that because of where we're from and where the business is based, it is a predominantly white, you know, community, and I have to be honest and say this is something that I've certainly had my eyes open to, and this is something that I should never have, you know, not focus my attention on, and that's me being open and holding my hands up and saying now I am educating myself on the matter, and so I can, you know, contribute to the story in a positive sense. So no, Ryan, you touch on a really important point, so thank you again for your contribution as well. Noel, did you have anything to add, sir?
Yeah, first off, amen to all of you. Like seriously, it's hard it's hard to follow that because all these points have been made. But okay, so let me kind of I think telling my story is going to help with what I need to say. I am what is considered a miscellaneous brown man just by looking at me. 1 second, can you tell what my race is? You can't. You got to look. I get mistaken for Mexican. I get mistaken for, you know, mainland Asian. I am Filipino, but my ethnicity stems from the Polynesian side of it. My dad is really dark. So I've had my run-ins with the cops where I've been pulled over by 3 cops, 2 or 3 cops. The third one came, assuming that I had stolen my own car, and I actually had the title with me, things like that. And they were rude as hell to me. But I also know that there are other good cops, just like some of the others were saying. So I have perspective, and it's just weird because I go through things differently. You know, I go through before people even say hello, they say, "Do you speak English?" Before anything, they say, "What are you?" So that they can prejudge me. And it has led to so many different things because my parents did get me out of San Francisco and then put me in an all-white school thinking that things would get better, and it made other problems for me. You know, I've been through a lot of stuff, and it's made me angry. But the difference for me over Black people is that even if, you know, if I get stopped by a cop, I get to live. So many Black people don't even get that chance. And there's so many people who don't want to listen. Willful ignorance is what's really killing this whole thing, because they don't want to learn. They don't want to put themselves in other people's shoes. Just because a white person who lives in the suburbs life is doing great, everybody should be doing great. Just because there are rich Black people, then there is equality, you know? Yeah, and there are poor white people as well, but you know what? That race was never a factor in any of these opportunities. And I guarantee you that those Black wealthy families had to work twice as hard to even get there. And people don't want to see that. I took a job where I was the only person of color, and I'm shaking a bit. They were all white, all country, and I remember the day that Trump was elected. First thing that the boss of that company said to me was, "You effing immigrants are leaving." I was born in America. There's nothing that I can do to make white America see me as American. But like I said, I get to live, which means I still have some sort of privilege over Black people. So I had another best friend, unfortunately, he was killed in a motorcycle accident. He was Black. And I remember going to places where they would follow him and not me, because when they saw me as Asian, I was a model minority. So we're cool, but he wasn't. And so I spoke up to that. I asked the person, "Why are you following him? We're here together. Well, I don't want him or you guys to steal anything." "Oh, you're going to start with him?" So what I'm saying is, it kills me when people say that white privilege isn't real for reasons like, you know, white people are all support, whatever. But you're not bad for having white privilege. You just have to acknowledge it and use it to help in situations where things can get nasty. If you see somebody treating me poorly, or like this happened, oh my goodness, I was having breakfast and there was this old white man. You clearly knew what demographic he was from, and I was just talking, and then I overheard him. He said, "Well, it's good that he's speaking English," then puts on his MAGA hat. Like I'm not going to hear that. What I'm saying is, if you have white privilege, there's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't make you a bad person. Just when things can get nasty, if you can help, do it. Call out the person who is, you know, being willfully ignorant and quite possibly being racist, because that's the only way we can do. That's how you do something without a platform, without social media. That is how you do something in everyday life. I've been through a lot this past week, and the one thing that I've been saying is, I don't want you guys to feel a damn thing for me. You feel it for the people who didn't get a chance to go through the system, who didn't get a chance to go home. My friend Chris didn't get to go home, but I did. And what was he doing? He was helping 2 white women who were being attacked by white supremacists. And then he gets killed. I'm the one who gets to go home, which means I have some sort of privilege, even though I've been through so much. And that means that I still can help when white America isn't going to see Black people as people. It makes me mad, and I can't stand for it. I can't stand when people don't want to learn, when they don't want to see somebody else's perspective. You want to talk about who's dividing the country? It's the people who don't want to listen. And in my last video, and I say this is what I live by, we need to listen to, learn from, and love each other. Period. That transcends every perspective. It transcends any political side. That's how we get somewhere, by listening. But there are people who do not want to listen to the people who are hurting. I'm going to end with this analogy. She's a mother of when I went to that white school, and she said, "We are a police family. Blue lives matter." And then somebody said, "Well, you know what? All occupations matter. What about the people working in the health industry, in the hospitals? Yeah, but they're not under attack right now." That tells me that you get it. Black people are under attack right now. Of course, all lives matter, but they can't matter until Black lives matter. I don't see. So you're telling me you can get it, but you don't want to get it, and it kills me. We need to listen to each other, and we need to know that we can all help each other. But there are people who don't want to, and I'm sorry, man. I'm just, if you can tell, I'm angry and frustrated.
I
But
really
at the end of
appreciate
the day, I get to go home alive, and a lot of people don't. Wes, I'm sorry that you dealt with the things that you've done with your life. All of you guys, I am so sorry that you've dealt with what you've dealt with. I'm sorry. Because what I've dealt with doesn't compare. And even though it's bad, it still means that I can still help, and I will. Love this family. I love Collision. Thank you guys for doing this.
Thanks for your comments. Absolutely, yeah, Noel. Just hearing you out, I hear your pain, and I want to take a moment to acknowledge the privilege that I have in my world, and yes, like Noel said, it's those who are prepared to listen, those who are prepared to open dialogue. That is what we need. That is what it has to happen. It's just absolute must. It's got to happen because that's the first step in impact and change. So again, I want to apologize on behalf of myself and for all of the pain that you guys have gone through and all the experiences, fellow friends, family. Noel, I say how much it's getting to you, and I really want to say thank you. I know it's really raw, but thanks for your time as well today. Thanks for everyone's time today. Monique, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, of course. I just want to thank you for sharing that too. And you're absolutely right. Like I know when the video of George Floyd first came out, I, like at first I didn't want to watch it because I was just like, oh no, I'm gonna get really upset. I don't know if I can handle that. But that was it right there. It's acknowledging the privilege that I had to not even watch the video, right? Until I actually, then I finally did watch it and shared that with people too. Like we have that privilege to like not watch, but with that, it does lead me to in the next question, right? Like people need to be open to learning, people need to be open to being corrected, and people need to be, sitting in their discomfort right now because of what's going on. So another question that we had submitted was, what advice do you have for people that are scared of saying the wrong thing?
I'll jump in on this one. um, that's a really great problem to have. Easy problem to have because it's number one, just as unpacking the problem just a bit. To be scared to say the wrong thing recognizes one, that you are in a position of being outside of the problem. And two, you have an empathetic connection to those who are in the problem, and that while helping, you are still sensitive that you're outside, right? And I say it's a healthy problem to have, or a healthy perspective to have, because we have also seen, as much as we can, an old saying from the deep South is, eat the fish, spit out the bones. So there's an idea where you can accept the good parts and reject bad parts. And unfortunately, there have been situations where people have wanted to stand up, people have wanted to stand with the Black community, Black and brown community, but we had to spit out bones because some of the stuff that they were saying, it's like, I appreciate you coming to stand with us, to support, but you don't have a unique perspective or experience on this. And when you say it, it crosses the line to sound almost insensitive, as if you've experienced what we've experienced, right? Granted, everybody's experience is different, but I love the way Noel says it, that there is and it's not a better or worse situation, because I promise you, the Japanese in internment camps had it worse than African Americans presently, okay? We're gonna say presently. We won't say back in slavery times, but we'll say presently. So everybody has an extremity. Jews in the Holocaust had it worse than African Americans presently. So it's not a matter of better or worse. It's a matter of true understanding, and having the perspective of I don't want to say the wrong thing means you're in the right place. It means you understand that you can do harm while trying to help. And that caution that you proceed with, I think the best way to mitigate that, to answer the question after we understand it, to answer the question, I would say lean on as much as possible the resources. And when I say resources, I mean video, I mean media, I mean social networks, I mean books, I mean films, documentaries, actual history, but also your human resources. Lean on your African-American brothers and sisters. I like to say it like that. We're all brothers and sisters. We're all a part of the human race. And I think that's also an aspect of that Christian belief in me, that we all come from the same parents. So we're all family. And so the idea is leaning on your brothers and sisters that happen to be Black to defer to some of how they feel and internalize that, but not to the degree that you are now sensationalizing it. You know what I mean? And I think the most important thing to remember in when you start to speak is to, one, recognize your internal bias, which everybody has. And when I say that, I mean even Black people. Everybody has a bias because everybody deals with subjectivity of your experience. And I think that bias, you can allow it to inform what it is that you think and control what it is that you think, or you can compartmentalize it and say, okay, this is how I think in reference to my bias, and then this is how I think apart from my bias. And if you can separate those two, you won't say anything that is out of place. And this is what I mean, right? So having that internal bias, right? My internal bias sees from the perspective of a African-American male, right? And I have a unique experience because I've been in a lot of different worlds. Carlton, you know my story. I was born in Fayetteville, North Carolina. When my parents divorced, I moved to Georgia, where my mother began to pastor. So I have that perspective as a pastor's kid, a musician in a Black Southern church in South Georgia. And I have that experience. Then we relocated to New York for her ministry. And then I spent from maybe preteens all the way up through 20s in New York. So I have the Northeast experience. Then I joined the military. I went in the Air Force, right? And that's a whole different subculture with a whole lot of different stuff that I won't even try to tackle today. And that took me overseas to a lot of other different places where I had to interact with people who were interacting with me as a Black American. So my perspective is always, it will forever be from a African-American male, okay? And because of that, I would be wrong to say that my subjective experience is absolute, as much as a Caucasian would be wrong to say their subjective experience is absolute. And so I think that aspect of being cognizant of that bias is, okay, I have the bias that I naturally have. No way to get around it. It's not even necessarily that it's bad, but if it begins to inform my experience as if it's an absolute, as if what I experience is absolutely true, universally true for everyone, everywhere, that's when I start to have issues. So I can, as an African-American male, take myself out of my bias and say that even though I've experienced racism, I've experienced discrimination in each and every one of those different facets and locations, that is not the experience of every African-American. Just like those who are perpetuating that experience to me is not the plight of every Caucasian, right? And because I can separate those two, then I can speak objectively, while being informed by my own experience. I can cite my experience, but as a resource, not as my only source. And so from the opposite side, I lay that out because from the opposite side, if you are from a different race and you're looking into the African-American suffering at this point, the African-American plight, especially in the States, but across the world, as Carlton said, in France, in the UK, in South Africa, in Africa itself, in South Africa, in Nigeria, Blacks are still being treated the same way, and a lot of times with a lot less liberties. And so if you can look at that, even when you're looking at your resources, those films, those videos, those books, right? What is the foundational response? For me, if I say something, I know that it's true because I experienced. That same is true for Carlton. That same is true for Noel. The same is true for Wes. The same is true for everybody on this call, everybody who will watch. You know the truth of your experience because you have a firsthand account, right? You don't start becoming a skeptic and asking questions and wondering how does that make sense until it's someone else's perspective, because you don't have that firsthand account of their perspective. You can only trust what it is they're saying. So if you approach all of the topics, the conversations about systemic racism, institutionalized racism, racism in the mortgage or the home loan market, racism in credit, racism in occupations, racism in the military, all those different things, all those different areas where racism is prevalent, not just criminal justice. If you focus on those things from the position of the outside, you'll always be a skeptic in some way. You'll always be looking for, well, let me find some facts to back up this story or this experience. You'll always come from that perspective. What I find is the best approach, and I've done this, even having conversations with a Jewish colleague of mine when I was in the military, who began to share with me the experiences of their grandparents firsthand in the Holocaust. And I began to really be open to it way beyond what history would reflect. Instead of having to, I immediately noticed that I was doing the same thing that I had accused other people of doing. I said, well, that doesn't make sense according to that documentary I heard on the Holocaust. Well, that doesn't make sense according to the way that we report World War I or World War II and the World War I and the time period in between when Hitler rose to power. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't track. I immediately begin to question what they said their experience was based on what I knew. So I had to remove myself and say, okay, you know what? Instead of doing that, let me accept that everything they're saying is true. When I first hear it, let me accept it like I'm the one experiencing it. Like everything they're saying is absolutely true, as if I saw it or felt it with my own perspective. And that allowed me to fully hear the heart and the hurt behind what it is that they were saying. And after I heard the entire thing, then I went back and I recognized, okay, this actually does track with history. I just wasn't aware of that part of history. This actually does track with some of these facts. I wasn't aware of this. And this part is not really verified in the history. This is probably just their personal experience. But because everything else is very highly grounded in statistics or in actual objective fact, then I can believe the things that aren't. Because of the overwhelming evidence of the things that are. And so what I would say for people who are wondering what to say and whether to say the wrong thing, when you're educating yourself and you're preparing to speak on behalf of the Black community, do so, yes, with facts, but also accepting that everything this person that you're identifying with says is absolutely true. And from there, you can then begin to work out what's objectively true as opposed to what's subjectively true. And it changed my entire perspective, because even as an African-American male who had experienced all manner of whatever in all those different facets I just talked about, I was still guilty of doing the same thing to someone else. So it's not, you can know that something is wrong for you, but still perpetuate it to other people. And that is the big problem that America faces, that you can, if somebody steps on your toe, it's wrong. But if you step on somebody's toe and they push you, you go, oh, well, why'd you do that? 2 seconds ago, you were crying because your pinky toe was blue. But now you are completely outdone that somebody would do that. How dare you do that to me? Don't you know what I've experienced? Don't you know that my pinky toe has been stepped on like 30 times before? But you just stepped on somebody's toe and it was, completely dismissed. The idea is accept that what people are saying is true, and then start to cross-check it with facts so that when you speak factually, but you speak empathetically. That's what I got.
That's really great advice.
Yeah, thank you so much. And the way you broke that down, I have nothing to add other than, that's going forward, something that I will take on board personally and start to put in place in my everyday life for sure. So thank you so much, Marquise. That's just absolutely fantastic. Did everyone have anything to add? Did anyone have anything else to yeah, Wes, do you want to go ahead? Yeah, please.
Yeah. So piggybacking off of that, like that's a great perspective what he said. And I know in the last week we've probably all seen like how a lot of companies started posting like, hey, we're standing with the Black community and we're doing this and we're doing that. And we see all these posts, and I don't know if y'all had, but a lot of Black musicians started speaking out like, you know, about how they were feeling about against it or whatever. And the thing is that, and the thing, and this is the thing, we don't know everybody's heart. Not saying that everybody has ill intent or everybody's heart is not to say, hey, I want to stand with the community. But like you're saying, like if you see a company that's majority all white, right? And there's a post put up with words, with no dialogue, I don't know your true intent. And especially if I don't see anybody that looks like me that's working for the company, I can't really relate to the post because I don't see me in that. It doesn't speak to me. So that's why I love what we're doing here, because it's dialogue. It came with the post at first, but it's actual dialogue. And then what happened was when Zildjian put up, Sabian followed, and this company followed. So then it's like, well, are you really standing with us, or was it just because this company did this? Because at the end of the day, again, I know the majority of the reps, the majority of the owners, the majority of the companies, you don't look like me. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? And so the thing is, if you are somebody who works for a company that hasn't educated yourself and you just copy and paste what another company said because some did do that, it makes me think that you're ignorant. Now I have a problem. And I don't care if it's Drum, I don't care if it's Netflix, whoever the hell. You feel what I'm saying? And the thing is like, you're better off not just saying anything if you don't educate yourself, or if you have Black people who endorse your company. Hey, listen, hey, what's going on? What can we do how can we help? What can we, if you ask questions versus just thinking, oh, I could do this and it's going to be okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm with Sabian, and I have no problem. Sabian has great product. Everybody has great product, whatever, right? But Sabian put up a post. When Zildjian put up a post, I inboxed Sabian to say, do not put up a post. Do not do it. You need to have some dialogue, whatever. They put up a post. It was what it was. And 15 minutes later, hey, we want to have Q&A on some marching band. Talk about this. What? So then it becomes, did you just do that because this company did it, or did you just do it? Did you really look up? Do you really know what's going on? Have you really talked to your Black endorsers, what they have going on, whatever? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, now when you put those words up and you say, hey, we want to stand with the community, we want to do this, now you're making yourself responsible. Because now you're saying you're standing. So when you say we're family, I'm standing with you. When my family said they standing, my family said, that means when my family said it, that means they got my back. When I was back in the day, when I used to do a lot of dumb stuff and go out fighting all the way, anybody that said they got my back, that means I check on you. I'm making sure you good. I'm going to do what you do. You tell me what you need done, and we going to go get it done together. But when that doesn't happen, people have a problem. And so the thing is, you have to be very, very careful of that. That's why I say, like, the easiest way for you to get it done is to have dialogue. You educate yourself. You go to somebody. If you're going to, like, I can't talk on a subject, like you said, like, let's just talk about the Holocaust. I can't speak on the Holocaust because I wasn't there. I don't relate to it. So for me to speak on it, I may be able to look up some stuff, but I need to find somebody who may have went through that and say, hey, what could I do? You get what I'm saying? Like, what could I do? Or how did this really happen? Or what is this? Because you're not going to really hear that coming from me because I'm not that. It doesn't, you get what I'm saying? Like, that wasn't me. That didn't happen to me. So you're not going to really respect it so much coming from me as you would coming from them. And so that's what people have to be cautious of. And especially in this time right now, because it's very, very, very critical. And the thing is, even if your heart is in the right place, and the thing is, like you said, like, you could want to say the right thing. Your intentions will be, man, I want to say the right thing. I don't want to say the wrong thing. But it may come off a different way because a person's like, well, they don't have anybody that looks like me. So did they really mean, or did they really do this, or did you really look at, you know what I'm saying? Because I think the problem everybody had was, well, why all of a sudden now all these companies speaking out? You know what I'm saying? It was like, and that was like
Yep.
a topic of conversation. Like, why are these companies now you speaking out? And so again, what it made it look like was one drum artist said, I think it was, I don't even know how it trickled down, but oh, you know, I appreciate all the endorsements, but I'm not gonna be standing for a company. I'm standing with me. Then other people started saying it. Then Zildjian put this up. Then Save It. And I seen Nord. Nord made a post, and they took Adidas post and they reposted it. So it's like, are you really standing with your black endorsement? Like, you literally took Adidas post and put it in your timeline. Like, you didn't even come up with that. Like, what are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? All you did was put the red line because your keyboard wasn't red. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. But the point of what I'm saying is, you have to just make sure that you do your part of educating yourself, or if you have people that don't look like you that's going through it, hey man, what can we do? That's why I love this right here. That's why, and the crazy thing is, I made a video about this a few days ago, and even like a month ago, and in the last 3 days, I've had so many of these huge companies hit my inbox, like, oh, you know, we're donating now to the, like, literally no lie, like, we're donating now to the Black Lives Matter. We just want to let you know. They screenshots it. I don't care about that. That's not, you can donate money, you can do, but if you're saying that you stand with us now, it's your job and your responsibility to make sure that you do homework. You have to do homework for yourself and for those that are helping you move your product. You have to do the homework. I can't do it for you. This person can't do it for you. And if you're not going to do it, then just shut up and don't say nothing at all. Just keep it moving. Let people talk about it. People talk about me every day. It is what it is. But if you're saying you're going to stand with us, then you better make sure you're ready for what comes with that. So again, salute to Collision Drums, man, Drumsticks, because this is just amazing, just sitting there having dialogue and talking about it. And you know what I'm saying? And getting perspective. Like, that's the one thing that companies and these owners and people were missing. Get the perspective and then say, okay, cool, let me roll like this, or let me, you know what I'm saying? Let's move like this. But yeah, that's it.
I want to pick back up on what Wes was talking about.
And if
different
I can
companies.
add one more thing. Oh no, I want to hear from you.
It's a certain summer company that I'm with. You know, they're like one of the up and coming summer company, and they started, you know, signing a lot of Black artists. And after Zildjian posted, you know, they're the thing, and you know, I saw Sabian did it, and I kept going back to like their page and like one of their gonna stand up, and I didn't see anything until Tuesday when we did the little black screen. That's the only post they had, was the little black screen. And so I emailed the CEO and a couple of reps. You know, it was like, hey, are you guys gonna stand up? You like, most of your artists like are Black, like, and I didn't get any response. Like, I texted them, they literally just read it. Like, I literally saw red. And, you know, it made me so upset to the point I started taking down all my symbols. And look, I still have my old broken saving symbols, and I just started putting them up because I didn't want to, you know, I didn't want to play with this certain company that I'm with, because, you know, they didn't say anything. And I already had this type of, I was actually talking to an old friend who's actually with the same company, and he was at NAMM this year, and he was like, it's something about the CEO, like, he seemed racist, like, and he's like, he really doesn't talk to you, he doesn't, you know, he was kind of just rude. And it just made me, that's what really made me think, like, is he like signing artists because, you know, he know we'll probably just make his brand look good, because he has a lot of, you know, big time drummers actually that's signed with him right now. So, you know, like, are you just using us as, you know, just to make your brand look good, or are you gonna stand with us? Or, you know, I just appreciate Collision from day one. You know, even Carlton was just concerned from day one, even before all this just happened. You know, I just appreciate you guys for just learning from each one of you guys too as well. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Ryan. You know, And I want to thank you for all your time as well. And it's our responsibility as brands to make sure that we stand up immediately, call it out where it is, say where, you know, our position, and make it clear to the world that we're with our communities. And I think it's just so important, and more brands need to follow that. You know, it's for us, it's just so important, you know, and having this dialogue, you know, and again, it's just so necessary and so needed. And again, I want to thank everyone for their contributions. You know, Noel, I believe you had a final thought. I know you have to get off. You're crazy back to back, aren't you? So yeah, do you want to share some final thoughts before Marquise? Maybe we can have Marquise wrap up the call after.
Yeah, Ryan, West, Marquise, thank you guys. I learned a lot, you know, and I'm one of those guys I constantly need to learn. So thank you. It's going to help me along the way. You know, even though there are certain things that we deal with similarly, there are things that are different too. And Marquise, you said every person's perspective is different, and I like what you said about that. So thank you. It's helping me. It's helping me heal. It's helping me move forward. We have to remember that there are people who are more mad about the media than people's lives. We have to remember that there are people who are more mad about the protests themselves, how they're protesting, over why. And we need to get people to want to educate, well, maybe they're not going to want to, but at least ourselves, we need to educate ourselves on the root of these problems. And it's been hard for me because people don't want to listen. The opposite of my perspective would be considered the far right conservatives. And so I legitimately want to hear their perspective, why they think certain things, why they're more mad about the media than anything, why they care more about statistics over reasons and the root of problems. And most of the times I get shut out. I do. But something like this, where we're all talking, and I mean, to be honest, I mean, it looks like we're all on the same side, but I'm still learning. This is the kind of mindset the world needs. We still need to be able to learn because every person is going to be different. And if you can open your mind to putting yourself in someone else's shoes, that's how we can move forward. That's what we need. And that's what I'm fighting for with everything that I have, because, you know, like you guys said, and Ryan said, it's one thing to say that you're standing with the people who are hurting, with Black people, but you got to do something about it. And I'm very adamant about doing something about it. And I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to learn. I'm going to change my perspective on certain things as I learn. And I'm okay with that. But other people need to know that that's okay too. And that goes along with I don't want to say the wrong thing. As long as you're willing to learn, that's how we move forward. And I really want to thank you guys for having me. And then meeting everyone, seeing these faces. So this is good. Thank you, Wes. Thank you, Marquise. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, all of you. Thank you. But I do have to go. I think my data limit is about up. So love you guys. Love Collision.
Thank you so much, Noel. Thanks for joining us. Thank you. Stay safe. Thanks again. Thanks for everything you do.
Thanks. Bye, guys.
Brilliant. I really appreciate everyone's time and Noel's as well. Monique, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, actually, I know Marquise wanted to say something too.
You know, it kind of slipped my mind and I forgot. So much was said. I think it was more just to back up what Wes was saying, and even what Ryan was saying. You know, Wes is kind of saying it would be better for you, you know, say something, or say something that's informed, or don't say anything, because if you say the wrong thing, just from a company perspective or from that outside perspective, I think we've already kind of hashed that out. But I totally understand, you know, Ryan's aspect as well. When you say nothing, it also lets me know where you are, that you didn't care enough to figure out what to say. And from, you know, from that person, if you were to interject some other kind of crisis, this picture becomes a lot clearer. When Hurricane Katrina happened, nobody was saying, oh, poverty in Washington, D.C. is really bad, right? Nobody was saying, oh, the issues that are going on, or the homelessness that's going on in Arizona. The focus was on where the HEMA. You had hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars being poured into St. Louis because Katrina was where the need was. And there was also that aspect where, no, everybody can't do everything, but if you decide to stand, if you decide to do something, there is an action element of it. You know, people say it like that, love is an action word. So I love what Noel said. We have to work together. We have to listen and understand each other, but we have to show love. Love is always an action. And so if you're going to say, I stand with you, stand is an action. That stand is you actually doing something. And so it would have been terrible for all of us across the country to say, oh yeah, we're praying for you and we stand with you, Katrina, but I'm not going to send any aid. I'm not about it. I'm not going to donate to any of the institutions that are designed to facilitate or help. I'm not going to volunteer in any way. I'm not going to send any of the 20 canned goods that are sitting at the bottom of my cabinet that I'm never going to use, that's going to expire in 3 months. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just saying that I align with you. That is superficial. That's superfluous. That's hot air, right? I think that if you're going to stand with someone, like Wes said, it requires doing something. And if you don't stand, and especially if you don't speak up, it lets us know where you are. Either that you're on the side of our opposition, or you don't care enough to choose. And that indifference is just as hurtful. I have been honestly more appalled on social media by people who are dismissive of the entire topic. I understand people are gonna, support white supremacy. When I was I'll give you this aspect. When I was in Kingston, New York, in high school, which is, that's, maybe a little under 2 hours from the New York City, north of New York City. I remember my global history showing roots in the actual classroom. The element of roots, where they took the character Kunta Kinte and they brought him overseas and enslaved him, changed his name, removed him from his culture, all of those other different things. Well, people weren't happy about that. And I remember 2 peaceful protests happening outside the school that caused the school to shut down for like 2 days. And that was neo-Nazis and the KKK in Kingston, New York, protesting about roots being showed in a public school because they didn't want whatever they didn't want. And so the idea is, even in their sense, if they believe in something, they're going to stand for it. They're going to show action. So how much more so we who are on the side of right, we are on the side of some kind of moral compass. We have to be motivated to do something. And historically, I'll inject this little bit of history. If you look at Black history in the United States, there were marches, there were the bus boycotts of Alabama. There were so many other different things that were happening as a kickoff to the civil rights movement. But the main difference, you'd be surprised to know that the main difference, the turn in the tide of the civil rights movement, where people really started to take notice, is when Caucasian Americans from the North, from the South, from the West, came to Alabama, came to Montgomery, came to Birmingham, and began to physically stand alongside. That's where that adage comes from, that verbiage comes from. Stand with me. That is because when you stand with me, if I'm in harm's way, you put yourself in harm's way. You put yourself under ridicule, under scrutiny. Sometimes that means you have to alienate yourself from other people. Maybe it's a job, maybe it's lucrative. You can believe that the law offices and the medical fields, or the hospitals, or the teaching positions that some of those Caucasians had, weren't waiting for them when they got back. You can believe that some of their friends or family probably were antagonistic towards their action to stand with African Americans in Montgomery. But they did it understanding that the value of the benefit of my standing with you is more important than what I might lose. And so for a company, from even a commerce perspective, a lot of companies up to this point, I feel like, you know, concerning what Wes said, people are saying something because it's okay to say something. And that's superficial. You know what I mean? And you can tell it's superficial because there's no action behind it, right? People are saying something, whereas when Trayvon Martin or Eric Garner or Breonna Taylor or any of those other situations happened in the last 10 years, companies weren't saying anything. So to say something means you might have alienated yourself with an affiliate. You might have alienated yourself with, you know, maybe artists or connections or relations that disagreed with your support of African Americans in that situation. So we don't want to be political. We stand for equality. We stand against discrimination, but that's as much as we're going to do. We're just going to say all the legal jargon, right? And now that this is sensationalized, that it's on the media, you can't go on Facebook without seeing somebody's rant, somebody's video, somebody's position for or against. It's okay to say something now. So now you have all these companies posting out stuff, or in the case of I believe it was Wes who said somebody just took somebody else's and copied and pasted it. But, and this hints back at that question of, we don't want to say the wrong thing. People have a sense of discernment, right? Whether you want to call it vibes or intuition, or just understanding and judging character, but there is an intangible, inaudible quality where I can sense your sincerity, your genuineness. And if you are trying, people will respond to that genuineness. Even if you make a mistake, as Noel said, even if you still have some bias in your perspective, because we all understand we're still learning. And more than anything, I can guarantee you there are some Caucasians down that were in Birmingham, and the first thing they probably asked is, okay, so we're going to eat, where's the fried chicken? And where's the watermelon? They probably were expecting that before we protest and we all sit down at this Black church and have, you know, dinner, there probably won't be salmon there or sushi there. There probably won't be spaghetti there. There's probably going to be collard greens and some chicken and some macaroni and cheese. And there probably was. They had their biases, their perspectives, their stereotypes. But what was accepted was, I understand your endeavor, your attempt. You're trying, and I can see that in your action. So to anybody out there who wants to stand with the African American community, first understand that you're scrutiny, that this situation has revealed where people actually stand on issues that they have been quiet about, right? This shows, and it's like the line who have supported police are against police. As many people who are speaking for African Americans are against African Americans. It's like polar opposites right down the middle. Understand that you might take on some negative aspects, but also see the value. See the value in what it is that you can accomplish if you do something. And that takes, I know we've been up here a long time, so I'll wrap it up. That takes that takes a lot of different shapes, right? And so you have to do what's good for you. You also, as you know, if you're a small company and you're endeavoring, it might be a stretch to try to raise $500,000 to give to the NAACP, you know, or to set up a college fund that sends 1,000 Black Americans to college when college tuition is through the roof. That might be too much, but it might be something as simple as saying, you know, bringing food to the protest. It might be something as, if you're a restaurant, you know, it might be something as simple as giving away t-shirts, making t-shirts for free that support the movement or that support reform in your particular area or community. Whatever that looks like for you. It might not be standing arm in arm, you know, Million Man March style, marching on DC, but whatever form that takes for you, do it, and with the spirit of genuineness, with a heart that is selfless. And if you can do that, people will notice, people will understand, and you will be blown away by the positive impact it can have in your community, for yourself, for everyone around you.
Bravo, man. That's all I just want to say, brother. That was just, yeah, my man. I'm sorry, I just had to say that real quick.
No, you said Wes, absolutely. No, thank you, Marquise. Honestly, you know, just I got chills. I got
Yeah, I
chills.
did too.
It's yeah, unbelievable.
I
Wow.
think it's
Just
brilliant,
powerful.
you know, exactly what you said, because what is happening is, you know, like you are seeing like people and companies posting things and it's very performative, right? But you got to put you know, you got to take action behind it, you know, because people can talk all day long, but
Yeah.
you know, action takers is where it's at, right? And so like, you know, and I've also been seeing like I don't know what else to call them, but me and my friend have kind of called them like good boy awards, right? Where it's like, oh, that company's really good for doing that, right? And we're calling them good boy awards, right? But it's like, no, you know, like we shouldn't, you know, because it should be our responsibility, right? You know, even though people are saying like, oh, thank you, Collision, for standing up. It's like, don't thank us. Like, this is our responsibility. You know what I mean? And so, like, you know, we're glad to be having these conversations and just thankful too that, you know, you guys are being a part of this roundtable discussion. And, you know, we do want to be respectful of everyone's time. And I know we went over here, but this is so good. And I think this is a really good starting point, right? But it doesn't end here. Carlton, do you have anything you wanted to say to wrap us up?
Yeah, 100%. This is the start. This is the catalyst that we hope continues the story from this point going forward. You know, that brings that message of positivity, one love together. You know, community, open dialogue, open channels, connect, communicate, grow, learn. You know, be open to learning and share that knowledge and share that experience and just be a part of it and get involved. And it, like you say, Marquise, it could be something as simple as bringing food or getting t-shirts. Just doing something is so much better than doing nothing. Doing nothing is not an option, you know. So yeah, and again, yeah, just to add, I know we've gone a little over, and again, I really want to say thank you so much for everyone's time, contribution. You know, Noel, who's not unfortunately busy now, but yeah, thank you to him also, and thank you to you guys watching as well. You know, our values as a brand have always been about community, identity, you know, and quality, and that's what it's always been, especially the community and the identity piece, because we want to celebrate you guys, you know, your identities, your community. We make ourselves personally available to you guys. You know, that is what we want to do here. So we need everyone to just take you know, take that guidance, take the advice of what we've discussed today. You know, contribute yourself. If there's an option, maybe an open forum, an open channel to start leaving feedback and comments, you know, we can look into ways to do that. But we definitely want you guys to start moving forward in some way, and dialogue is the first step. But again, thank you everyone. I really appreciate your time today, and yeah, definitely stay safe, especially in this pandemic. Look after yourselves. Together, positivity, we go farther. That's what it's all about. So thank you again.
Sounds good. Thank you, everyone.
Appreciate it. Thank y'all for having me, man.
Thank you, guys.
My pleasure. Love you guys. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Love you too, guys. See you soon. See you soon. Thanks again.
Bye-bye.